Hello, everyone. Hello, community. And welcome back to another Keeping It Real with Dr. Anita podcast. We're so thrilled to have you with us. Your eyes are not playing tricks on you. I am not Dr. Anita. We're not doing a ventriloquist act, right? My name is Kelli Kirkland. I'm a friend of Dr. Anita's. We met several years ago, and really she changed my life for the better. I'm so thrilled at the person who introduced us, and I am blessed and fortunate enough to be getting to switch seats with her for a few podcasts. It's her 7-year anniversary in business, like an incredible anniversary. So she is doing what she always does, the brave thing, and saying, "Hey, I'm going to be the interviewee this time." So she is in the interesting hot seat, and we're going to do some interviewing with her. So for those of you who don't know, Dr. Anita Polite Wilson is a C-suite trusted advisor, an elite team strategist, and board director, prepping businesses to navigate culture, complexity, and change. And boy, do we need that now more than ever. So welcome to your own show, Dr. Anita. I'm so thrilled to have you.
Thank you so much. And community, for those of you who don't know Kelli Kirkland, I'm not at liberty to say what organization she's with.
Oh, you can. It's all right.
Can I? Well, she's with Netflix. And so just so you know, Dr. Anita has come up in 7 years, and I'm getting a little bit of juice, right? Because if I can get somebody like Kelli to co-host with me on the show, then I think my name's getting out there. So Kelli, thank you so much for sharing your valuable time with us. I appreciate you so much. I couldn't think of anyone else that I would rather have do this with me. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. I am honored. So today, community, we are asking Dr. Anita the tough question. Well, one of the tough questions.
Yeah.
What has she learned as a businesswoman? Now, we could probably do, 3 or 4 hours on that. We only have a few minutes. So she's going to give you some of her golden nuggets. And what we do here, at Keeping It Real, is she tells the truth. Everything may not be pretty and tied up in a nice, neat little bow. So if you're looking for everything to be perfect, it's the wrong podcast. But if you're listening for everything to be true and real, you're in the right spot. So buckle up. Get your notepad. Yeah, I just dated myself, right? I'm the only one who's still writing notes with pen and paper. You can type it or text it or whatever you want to do. But take some notes and rewatch, because sometimes it hits you in the moment, but when you come back a second or third time, it hits you in a whole different way. And when we were talking about business strategy, you don't want to miss a single nugget. So, Dr. Anita, you have navigated so many experiences as a woman and as a Black woman in the business world.
Yeah.
Tell us some of your highs and maybe some of your lows, and how do you keep surviving in this really tough space?
Well, one of my favorite highs was after having partnered with a client right after George Floyd's murder, and the president and CEO said, he said this to his staff. He said, "I want to really understand how our Black employees are feeling, because one of their top values as an organization is family." And so he gave the charge to his SVP of Human Capital. And someone saw me speaking on a webinar doing what I do. And it was between me and a couple of other consultants, and they chose me. And after I had done the work of working with their C-suite team and then their direct reports and helping their marketing department come up with a belonging campaign, after 2 years of work, the CEO decided that he was going to assemble a board. It's a private company here in LA. And when I looked at his values of the company, the values that he wanted the board to uphold, and my own corporate and personal values, I just kind of had another conversation with him and said, I'd like to be considered. I went through the process. And so for me, one of the highlights is going from being a consultant and walking alongside an organization to now sitting on their board and having that level of influence throughout the organization. And it's not just for the sake of saying I sit on a board, but when we go to our quarterly board meetings, I'm usually one of a couple of board members that are there for the week, because once we've done our board business on the first day of the week, I stay throughout and I make myself available to any person in the organization who wants to talk with me for coaching or for mentoring, or just to check on them and see how they're doing, or for them to check on me and see how I'm doing. So that is one of my greatest experiences, knowing that the relationship that I established with the CEO, with his executive team, with their folks, led to the invitation to join their very first board, the board of a company that's been around for close to 110 years.
Wow. Yeah. And what I'm also hearing from that story, that is incredible, is that you were willing to take a chance. You were willing to do the work and grow. You didn't necessarily know exactly where it would end up,
Mhm.
But a friend of mine has a book called Bet on You. She's an HR at Netflix. It's an incredible book. And that's what she talks about, betting on yourself.
Mhm.
Even when you don't know exactly how it's going to go, even if it doesn't turn out the way you said, let me go for this.
Mhm.
How often do you think people hesitate or don't get out of the starting blocks because they can see all the things, all the hurdles, and can't quite see the finish line?
All the time. I remember one time coaching a young man, and he was incredible, so incredibly gifted. And he was telling me, well, there's this job that I really want, but I'm not going to go for it. I said, wait a minute. I said, that's what the interview process is for. Why are you taking yourself out of the running before you even get to the interview? So I coached him a little bit, and he got the job, which I knew he would. But too often we take ourselves out of the running. So to that point, there have been studies proven that women will not apply for a job only because they feel like they've got 80%, where a man will apply for a job with 50 or 60%, he'll get it and she won't.
Yes.
And so to that point, I want to make it clear to the community that when I approached the CEO, I had just finished going through a certification to be certified ready for a board. I had done the homework on the company. I knew the culture of the company. So it's not like I was just saying, oh, I think I want to be a board. I had done the work. I had prepared. And anyone who knows me knows I believe in preparation. I mean, 4 different degrees, credentials up the wazoo. I've done the work. I've written the books, so to speak. And so when I do throw my hat in the ring, it's because I'm confident that I'm prepared. Not that I know all the answers, because, and I ask this of leaders all the time, when you stepped into the role that you have now, did you know everything that you know today?
Oh, great point.
Of course not. And so, yes, we bet on ourselves as long as we're prepared, and preparation meets opportunity. And that's where that next level comes from. The other thing that I like to say is, oftentimes we as leaders forget that there's the transition that takes place. Yes, we have a proven track record at this level, which says that we're most likely going to be successful at this level. But the challenge is the transition in between, which is why there's a book that I often like to recommend, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. It's a classic. It's a classic by Marshall Goldsmith. And it reminds me that when I left corporate America, having done all the things that I'd done and actually winning awards for my work, including Contractor of the Quarter as a government contractor, Woman of the Year award at my last company, when I think about the awards and what I did to get me there, that did not necessarily translate as an entrepreneur.
Yes.
There's a different way of thinking that you have to have. There's a different way of approaching the business. There's a different way of getting the business. And one day I was commiserating with a colleague of mine who's also an entrepreneur, and they said something that I'll never forget. They said, what's different about being an entrepreneur versus being an employee is that as an employee, you're already working within a system. As an entrepreneur, you're creating the system.
Yes.
As an employee, you have a defined role. As an entrepreneur, you're wearing several hats.
Yes.
As an employee, it's very clear what you're to do next. As an entrepreneur, you're always having to recast the vision. And so obviously what got me to the level of success as an employee did not necessarily translate to the level of moderate success that I have as an entrepreneur. And I don't say moderate trying to be necessarily, what's the word I'm looking for? Help me out here, Kelly, you're a wordsmith.
What is my word hat?
I'm not necessarily trying to be modest. I'm saying I recognize that where I am in 7 years versus where the CEO of this 107-year-old company, that's very, very different. But to the degree of success that I do have is because I've had to learn things differently. And I'm also very, very humbled by the fact that people are listening to me. A very dear girlfriend of mine, she wrote a book called Designing Exceptional Organizational Cultures. And she sent me the book. And as I was reading through the book, Kelly, she quoted me 12 different times throughout the book, which I was so honored and floored by. She didn't tell me. She just sent me the book. And so I say that, community, to say this. When somebody sends you something, be courteous enough to read what they send you, because you might be surprised. You might be pleasantly surprised about what's in there. Not only the information, but the fact that someone respects your voice and values your opinion on it authentically enough to say, oh, by the way, we want to include you in the work that we're doing. And to me, that's the highest compliment.
Yep. That's wonderful. That's a great message. You actually, I'm with your friend because I do like to quote you. You are very quotable. I kind of keep a list. You have said that one of your greatest lessons is about resilience, and I don't want to misquote you. It's something about resilience is not about avoiding hardships; it's about building the muscles to move through them.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about that as a businesswoman.
It's tough because some days I feel like, okay, I finally got it wired. And other days I feel like I have no idea what I'm doing. It's time to sit down. But that is also part of the journey. And so part of resilience is, for me, having the courage and the humility to sit down with someone who's been doing this far longer than I have and just be honest and say, I don't feel like I'm doing this right. Is this normal? For them to be able to say, absolutely, and it won't be the last time. So this is part of the process, to feel like you don't know what you're doing sometimes. And in these days, the business environment, now I'm not just talking about the shifting DEI landscape, the business environment is so unpredictable. Yes. Again, I risk dating myself, but it used to be that a long-term strategy was 10 years, a short-term strategy was 5 years, and an immediate strategy was a year, right? And now a long-term strategy might be 3 years because business moves so quickly, which requires us to always be reading, to always be researching, to always be in the know so that we can have the most recent information at our fingertips, knowing that in an hour that's going to change too. And so with resiliency comes the challenge to be adaptable, to be open, to be teachable, to be always learning, which is why more than ever, it's critical to be a lifelong learner. We've heard it said that leaders are readers, and that is so true. I read so much. Even in the car, sometimes on a road trip, my husband's like, okay, well, where's your cache of books? They're right here. And while I do set it down to be able to spend some quality time, in the car with my husband, I'm constantly reading. And so that's another part of the resiliency, to stretch and grow your mind, not only through your own experiences, but through the materials that you're reading.
I'm wondering, as you're talking about that, and we spoke previously about the fact that almost 60% of businesses don't make it into their 7th year. I wonder if that could be part of it, Dr. Anita, that people can't continue to innovate and pivot the way to keep up with the changing needs of the company. I mean, look at your work. I mean, you had to pivot on a dime probably since January to some degree, like either your wording, maybe decks or paperwork, things that you've had written up, you have to rewrite because certain words you may not be able to say DEI. This company won't use you. There may come a time for folks where they're like, oh, it's too much. I can't keep up. What do you say for folks who might feel sometimes overwhelmed at how fast things are changing, and to keep their business relevant, they have to change at that pace?
It's definitely about the long game. You mentioned, the rebranding and the rethinking and the rewriting since January of last year. This is something that I saw coming for a while, and so I was preparing. The challenge is, at least in my work, from my perspective, is just like I'm asking people to keep it real, is remaining true to the work that I'm doing. What I don't want is for people to think, oh, she was just riding the wave. No, that's not it at all.
Right.
This type of work is work that I've actually been doing for years. When I think about how I never want to treat someone poorly the way I've been treated, and going back to the human affirming value. So even when I was focused solely on leadership and career, it was always about the human affirming behaviors. And so again, when we remove the labels, my work is still about that, but the messaging needs to be such that it meets people where they are. And right now, if meeting people where they are means retiring the terms and rewiring the approach to the work, then that's what I'm doing, if that makes sense.
And I love that, because the work itself does not change. Your wording is very clear.
Correct.
I may put on a different outfit. I may put on a different wig each day, whatever. I'm still me.
That's it.
I may look different, but I'm still me. So that's, when I think about what you're saying, it's like, that's business savvy. It's your marketing. It's how the commercials that we use for advertising cereal or perfume or whatever that I grew up with back in the day, many decades ago, very different than commercials now. Still the same cereal, still the same perfume.
Right.
Like that Cheerios hasn't changed in 60 years. But the advertisers go to sell those Cheerios now. Here's how I have to package it. It's still the same bite of cereal.
And for me, when I talk about meeting people where they are, it really goes back to authenticity. I've had, different people say, oh, Dr. Nee, you really need to be on Instagram. And I don't even know what else is out there. But I'm like, but that's not where my audience is. My audience is on LinkedIn. And so that's where I connect. Oh, Dr. Nee, you need to be doing this. Well, I've got content coming out of my ears, but again, unless it resonates with the way I connect with my client base or those that I choose to seek to have influence with, that's not necessarily going to work for me. So part of the resiliency is knowing who you are, where your voice is, and where your people are, so that you don't fall into the trap of going with the popular versus going with what's going to work for you.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, and that's it in a nutshell. Know who you are, know what your voice is, know who your people are, be that your customers, your community, your employees, whoever. Know you, know your voice, know your people. And I will just wrap us up here. I think you said something so powerful. Well, you always say something powerful, but you were talking about how we need to be prepared for challenges, for opportunities, and so forth. And I think it was Oprah, please forgive me if I'm misquoting, that said it years ago, something to the effect of, success doesn't just come naturally. Success is actually when preparation meets opportunity.
That's right.
And so that to me is like encapsulates what you've been talking about today. Is you can have all the opportunities in the world in your business, but if you're not prepared, it doesn't pan out. You can be prepared as possible, but if you don't open yourself up to opportunities and keep reinventing yourself and marketing in the right way and doing those things, those opportunities won't come for you. But when you are prepared, you've done your homework, you've done your leading and reading, you've done all of those things, you're ready, you understand the politics, the culture, what's happening right now in the world, where you fit, where you have an opportunity to grow people. When you know that, and then you say, now let me open up to opportunities, like you did, and you got on that board, right? You were prepared. When the opportunity came, you had success.
There's another saying that says, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready.
Get ready.
And so for me, I always see myself in preparation mode, whether I'm writing another talk for a keynote, whether I'm preparing other folks so that I can moderate a successful panel. I'm always in preparation mode.
Yes.
That being said, there's another saying that goes, study long, study wrong. So there is a time to pull back and just kind of take a breath and assess and say, well, am I doing too much over here? Is this good enough? Because, we can do the whole analysis paralysis thing and derail ourselves.
Yes.
One other thing that I'd like to leave with the community is the fact that there's that VUCA environment that we're in: volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And I have figured out how to reframe that and turn it into an opportunity for vision, unity, clarity, and agility. And so when we can take, what's challenging and reframe it into stepping stones, that's another way for us to be prepared. We have to think about whatever it is we're going to be going for. Is it realistic? Is it realistic for me? Is it realistic for me right now? Maybe not. Maybe I need to put that on the shelf. Am I being realistic about where I'm starting, where I'm going, and how I'm going to get there? Well, let's take a pause. And so along with preparation comes being real with oneself, asking oneself the questions, not glossing over them, but being willing to say, I may need to put this on the shelf for a minute. So it all comes together. And I love how you said, you think about the meal that you want to have tonight. Well, you got to do some preparation in the morning and let it simmer for a minute. And by the time you get home and smell those good smells wafting in the air, then you're in for a good surprise. It's kind of like that.
Yes. Fabulous. Well, everyone, as always, we want to keep it real. And now we have another new quote: stay ready, right? Everyone stay ready for what's next for you, and stay in the flow, FLO. You can remember those letters, because we want to make sure we are following with this podcast, liking it, and oversharing it with everyone we know. And you know what I want to say? Don't just share it with the people who you know are going to love it. Share it with the people you know need to hear it. Sometimes those are not the same. So be bold, be brave, and go, they may not want to, but I know they need this lesson. So be sure to overshare it and let people know this is the podcast. This is the truth-telling session where Dr. Anita and all of her guests help to reframe hot topic conversations from difficult to different. We can let go of the word difficult and let's just talk about different. That's where we get so much diversity and humanity and beauty, when we talk about and learn about the things that are different. So until next time, this is Dr. Anita's assistant, Kelli, with the fabulous Dr. Anita, reminding you to stay blessed and to keep it real.